Hey, internet, it's me again. I hope it's not an error. But if it is, it's okay. I like talking to myself. Let me start over. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. قالوا إن يسرق فقد سرق أخ له من قبل فأسرها يوسف في نفسه ولم يبدها لهم قال أنتم شر مكانا والله أعلم بما تصفون رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي فالحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Once again, everybody, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I think the previous broadcast, I discontinued it about 10-14 minutes, so I'll pick up from there and I'll have my production team kind of put those two videos together. So those of you that were following from the beginning aren't having to go through the redundancy of me repeating myself. I'll probably not say the same thing twice the same way anyway. So alhamdulillah, what we covered. So in Yasriq, faqad saraqa akhun lahu min qabl. What I've, as a quick recap, what I've talked to you about so far is a family that rips on their own family has more credibility because people will assume that they know what they're talking about because they live with them, right? So it's a pretty heinous crime to use that trust to slander your family. I'll add something I didn't say before. The job of a family, like for example, married people, Allah describes the word for married people to be women to be muhsanat and men to be muhsinin, which is the Arabic word comes from hisn, which is a fort, right? And muhsin is someone who lets somebody come into the fort. And a muhsana, the woman, is someone who has been brought into the fort. The idea is when you're in a family, you live inside of a fort. And the gates are closed. Not everybody has access. So that's an image not just of privacy, but also of protection. Whenever you have protection because you're secured by a fort, you don't go outside and share secrets of the fort and back entrances and all this other stuff. The entire idea is it's safeguarded from the outside world, right? So the one of the essences of family is that they do keep things within themselves. They solve their own problems. They deal with things internally until they become so out of hand. Then they have to go to somebody responsible on the outside to deal with those kinds of issues. But look at them. They're in public. They're being accused of stealing. And the first thing they do in front of everybody is say, well, if he's a thief, his brother was a thief too. It runs on their side of the family. Wow, how humiliating to say that in front of everyone, right? It's like, that you guys, sometimes you go to like an Eid gathering or you go to some, family that invited you over or whatever. And when you go there, a member of your own family starts making fun. A husband starts making fun of the wife, or wife starts taking jabs at the husband, or parents at children, children and parents. And they're, they're saying insulting things in front of others because they know it'll hurt, And that's not okay to do that kind of. First of all, it's not okay even if nobody was there. But how much worse than other people are there and you're taking digs at each other. You're insulting each other. How awkward for everybody else, but really how humiliating of you. You have no respect for yourself, because if you can't respect your family and you can't respect that there are some internal differences and some conflicts that is nobody's business. It's nobody's business that they should be brought into it to humiliate the one that you want to take a dig at. Whether they're your brother, your spouse, your parent, your child, that doesn't matter. But they don't deserve to be humiliated in front of others. And so what they've done is pretty bad. They could have just been quiet. How did this add to the situation? How did this help anything? Like them saying if he stole it, he had a brother that stole a long time ago too. How does that help? Does that justify anything? If only anything, well, it's not our side of the family. We're the good side of the family. We have the cleaner blood. They come from, if you take the Syriac tradition, they're sons of a thief, and he's a brother of a liar. They say brother of a liar in the Syriac tradition, meaning they're referring to Yusuf as a liar. Liar what? He saw these dreams, right? These dreams are all a lie. And that's what they made fun of. And they were offended by his dreams in their version. The Quran is not saying that. The Quran is saying something else. If you accept that tafsir that he stole those idols and whatever, that's one variation. But if you take the Quran's literary text without any secondary text explaining it, like the Quran just speaks for itself. And this is important because the vast majority of the Sahaba, the vast majority of the people who heard the Quran for the first time, they didn't comment on this like this. Like you find the second generation commenting, the Tabi'een have many comments about this. But the first generation, you don't have much commentary about what's going on here. You know what that means? They're looking at the text at face value and they're analyzing what's being said. They're not looking at some other secondary source to fill in the gaps. You understand? So what does it look like just if the text were to speak for itself without any secondary sources? Well, what the text seems to be saying is they are falsely accusing Yusuf of stealing too. Well, if you want to throw Binyamin under the bus, we'll take the opportunity to take that brother who we didn't do enough harm to yet, apparently, because we physically damaged him and we emotionally tortured him, but let's humiliate him in his absence too. Why not throw that in? You know, he was a thief too. He had a brother that, and they wouldn't even dignify him with a name. He had a brother. He's not our brother. He's not our brother. It's his brother that used to steal. فَقَدْ سَرَقَ أَخٌ لَهُ مِنْ قَبْلِ. It's incredible. The other remarkable thing about the way they spoke is in yasriq. In means if, yeah. Yasriq is the present tense, the mudari' majzoom form. It's majzoom here because of the sukoon at the end. Yasriq. The marfu' form is yasriqu with the dhamma at the end. The mansub form yasriqa. It's yasriq, simple enough. It's basic Arabic grammar because of in the beginning if. It's a conditional statement. Now, in English, you can say, let me give you an analogy of linguistics before we get to this. It'll make it simple for you, okay? If I say, if I ate a burger, or if I ate a burger, then, and I compare that to if I eat a burger. So I compared the two, I changed the tense. If I ate a burger, if I eat a burger. Or if I write an essay, or if I wrote an essay. Both very, very similar. I changed the tense a little bit, but one thing, it's not just past and present tense. One thing that changes, if I say, if I eat a burger, you can add, if I eat a burger every day. If I eat a burger, meaning not just one time, but also continuously, okay? If he studies, as opposed to if he studied. If he studies doesn't mean he studies one time. If he studies means if he studies continuously. But if you say if he studied, that's referring to how many times? One time. Now they don't say if he stole, then his brother stole too. That's not what they said. They said if he steals, present tense. If he steals, then he had a brother that stole too. Steals meaning, well, if he got caught this time, he probably steals more than that too. Like they're not just saying this one time. They're saying, well, if he got caught this one time, might as well add on some additional flavor and some additional accusations that have no basis and say, he's probably in the habit of it. He probably steals and just gets away with it and got caught this time. And what a surprise, because it runs on the genetic side of that family. Wow, guys. You guys are just, how they did that. How quickly they humiliated their own. And you know, the Arabs have funny, weird idioms, right? Ancient idioms. And one of them is khayru halibiki tamtihina. It's hard to translate. It's, you know, the guy who milks the cow, right? So they have a cow that different people come and milk this cow, right? And some people are very rough with it when they milk it. So they hurt it. So it's become agitated, right? So when someone nice comes to milk it, it starts headbutting them. And he says, no, I'm the nice one that milks you. You're going to give me a headbutt? Give them a headbutt. In other words, why are you hurting me? I'm the one that's good to you. You get it? What I'm trying to say here is, man, I'm the one that, I'm your brother. I'm your family. What harm have I ever done to you? And you turn around and you not only not defend me, which is bad enough, not give me benefit of the doubt, which is bad enough. You lump my brother in with this as if this is a genetic thing. This is an inherited family trait. And so you're accusing me, my brother, my mother, and her ancestry all together when insulting their mom at the same time, because the bloodline, right? That's what they have in common. Their bloodline is dirty. And then on top of all of that, you're even accusing me that as if this is not the first time. I've probably done this many times before. Wow, guys. Why did I deserve this? Where is this aggression coming from? And what does... Remember I told you Yusuf alayhi salam is trying to break their arrogance little by little? What does this statement show? It ain't even close to broken yet. Do they have any remorse for what they did to Yusuf alayhi salam? This statement itself makes it clear. None. Do they still have spite towards Yusuf alayhi salam? Good riddance? Yeah. Not only do they not regret their act, They're completely okay with it. Well, he was a thief anyway. He was a thief. And there's a sort of the Quran has sometimes a poetic, literary nuance to it. When they say if he stole, he had a brother who stole too. And the reality is Yusuf alayhi salam never stole. So what could that mean? One, if you take that story that I told you, the idol story, but even if you don't take that story, you know what it could mean? It could mean that sometime he was falsely accused of stealing. But even the accusation is enough for some people to present it as if it was, by the way, you were accused of stealing. And when you say accused of, in their mind, the words accused of are equal to you did it. You did it. When you say allegedly, this person allegedly did this, is very different from this person did this. But in our times, we know when you say about someone, this person allegedly did this, it is actually equal to they did it. In the minds of everybody, they did it. Well, you know what they allegedly did, right? So they're presenting the allegedly as if it is a fact. And there are people in families that do that. You know what they said about you, right? You know what was spreading around about you? You know what your uncle said about you? You know what your cousin said about you? You know what I heard about you? And you're talking to your sibling. you're talking to a brother. You're talking to an uncle or whoever, and you take hearsay or accusations and allegations and use them to beat them over their head as though they're facts. That's dirty family games. That's abuse. That's an abuse they're engaged in now against a brother who for all they know is dead, but they're still not done with him. Look at that. Look at, when you wonder what's the extent of spite or jealousy or hatred, how far does it go? Like when you did somebody harm, the fire should burn out, right? You're done. You did what you had to do. He's gone. Move on with your life. Do they look like they've moved on with their life? No, they haven't. And this is really, you go back to that first statement you found in the story, what Yaqub said when he talked about his brothers. He said, Inna shaytana lil insani aduwwun mubin. The devil is a clear enemy. Don't tell your brothers this dream. They'll scheme against you. The devil is an enemy. Let's think about the devil for a moment. He is mad at Adam. He's so mad at Adam alayhi salam because of the sajda story, yeah? And he's still mad at Adam. Adam alayhi salam died. Adam alayhi salam's gone. Hawa, her mother, are gone. Habil and Qabil are gone. Okay, so you got revenge with Adam. Then you got revenge with his sons. Are you done? Then you got revenge with their grandsons and their great-grandsons. And you are still taking revenge every chance you get, every moment you get. And has the fire inside him gone out? The hatred, the spite he has towards human beings, that he wants to see them suffer and humiliated. No, it's not gone. And you know what? His best revenge against human beings is he makes them feel the fire that he's burning with. Jealousy, hatred. Don't let it burn out. So look at what he did to his brothers. It's been years. That kid is gone. He's dead. To you, he's dead. He's gone. He doesn't exist anymore. And your hatred for him won't go away to the point where this has nothing to do with Yusuf. This has been Yamin and a cup in his bag. And you bring out of nowhere, he had a brother, he had a stealing habit too. Like you just had a chance to take another punch at him, so you did. He may not be alive anymore, but my spite isn't dead. Like love knows no bounds, people say. Hate knows no bounds. Jealousy knows no bounds. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said about وَمِن شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدٍ. He said, for every disease there's a cure. But then there are some diseases for which there is no cure. The only thing you can do is ask Allah to protect you from them. That's all you can do. And jealousy is one of them. That's why we say, وَمِن شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدٍ. I seek Allah's refuge. I cling on to Allah from the evil of the one who has jealousy when they engage in jealousy. Man, the person you're jealous towards can be dead and you're still not done. You're still spitting on their grave. That's how far it can take you. That's how downward spiral it can take a human being. So now he says, they say this about Binyamin. They say this about Yusuf alayhi salam. They rip on their own family. And who's listening to all of this? The first victim of their abuse, Yusuf himself. And what does Allah say about Yusuf alayhi salam when they say this? Before I tell you what Yusuf alayhi salam said, I explain now what he said. I need you to understand that He's been through a lot in life. He's been through kidnapping. He's been through physical abuse. He's been through child slavery. He's been traded as a commodity. He's lived as a slave away from his family. He's lived away from his dad, his mom. He's lived away from his parents, not because of his own will. He's the subject of hate by his own brothers who are older than him. He's been falsely accused. He's been thrown in jail. He's been forgotten about in jail. He has gone through a lot in life. When someone says they've seen suffering in life, Yusuf alayhi salam seen a lot of suffering in life. But do you find, and Allah describes his story, you ever find Allah describing him sitting there and crying or swallowing his grief or complaining or saying, Allah, this is too much for me? In fact, even when he was in jail, he was saying, this is Allah's favor on me, that I happen to be from the legacy of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Remember that? Like, this is his attitude, this positive attitude. But then these guys are standing in front of him. He's no longer in jail. He's not a slave anymore. He's not in the depth of a well. He's sitting in the highest seat in the country. Everybody respects him. يَتَبَوَّأُ مِنَ الْأَرْضِ حَيْثُ يَشَاءُ. He can move in the land and settle and set rules wherever he wants. He is in complete control. He has redeemed all of those pains are gone. He's living in a life of relief. Yes? Physically, socially, economically, emotionally, he's no longer under any kind of harm. Yes? And now his brothers are powerless in front of him, begging him for food. Yes? And when these words come out of their mouth, well, if he stole, he had a brother who used to steal too. He stole too. When those words come out of their mouth, this baseless accusation, Allah says, therefore, then at that moment, asarraha Yusufu fi nafsihi. Yusuf kept it hidden inside of himself. And scholars of Tefsir said, kept what hidden? Because Allah didn't say kept his anger hidden, kept his sadness hidden, kept his rage hidden, kept his hatred for what they have just said hidden, kept his disgust hidden, kept what hidden? Inside of him, kept the answer he could have given them right at that moment. Allah just said it because it's almost as if it is indescribable. It is almost as if one word wouldn't have done it. So Allah says he kept it hidden inside him. Like as if the hazaza, Alusi calls it al-hazaza, like the extreme rage and spite that he felt at that time, he swallowed it. He didn't change the look on his face. Like, what did you just say? Do you know who I am? Oh, I can't take, oh no, it's on now. Oh no, you know what? You know what, guards? Hold on. I got this. When you hear something that so enrages you, so hurts you, so humiliates you, and you're in a power to crush the one who said it. Yeah, and he has that power. And in that moment, what does he do? He keeps a cool face, doesn't even let them know he's moved by it, doesn't let them know that they're talking about him. They're calling him a thief to his face when that's not even true. And the funny thing is, you should talk. You stole a child. You have moral upper ground. You attempted murder. You're going to talk. And that's the funny thing about people. They're quick to point out in family. They're quick to point out how your mistakes, falsely even, alleged mistakes are. And very blind to their dirty laundry. And the skeletons in their closet that are amount to graveyards. They won't look at that. They'll point out what you did. Have you looked at yourself? So Yusuf alayhi salam swallowed his grief, his hurt. And why am I saying that? Because he went through all those experiences and never did Allah say he swallowed his grief. He swallowed his hurt. He kept it hidden. He kept his pain hidden. Allah didn't say that. He said basically he remained grateful, yes? But when your own family hurts you like this, it hurts like nothing else. And it takes an extra effort to keep that inside. And then Allah adds, وَلَمْ يُبْدِهَا لَهُمْ, and He didn't expose it to them. He didn't let them have it. He didn't let them know that it's getting to Him. He did not give that to them. There's also a profound sunnah of Yusuf alayhi salam. Sometimes abusive people in your family, may Allah protect you from them, and may Allah keep us from being abusive people in our families. Sometimes abusive people get a high out of the look that they will get on your face when they really hurt you. They want to see you hurt. And what does Allah's messenger do, Yusuf alayhi salam, prophet do? He won't give that to them. Of course, he wants to keep the secret. I'm not going to give you that. That's a victory for you. You know, for some people, causing hurt is actually an accomplishment. They feel like they did something when they caused you hurt. There are some people who are so twisted in their head, they can't accomplish anything good in life. They're not relevant in any way. So the only way they can be relevant is by causing you pain. And when they see you suffer, they feel like, okay, now I exist. Now I have some effect in the world. I have some impact on earth. It may not be good, but I still exist. Look at what I caused him. Look at what I caused her. That's the power they have. Yusuf alayhi salam will not even give them that anymore. He won't. وَلَمْ يُبْدِهَا لَهُمْ. And look at the reinforcement that Allah mentions. He kept it a secret inside of himself and didn't expose it to them. Wait, if you keep it a secret, obviously you didn't expose it, right? If I say I hid it and I didn't show it. Well, if you just said I hid it, the I didn't show it part is unnecessary, right? Because obviously when you hid it, you didn't show it. But Allah says both. He kept it hidden inside himself and he didn't show it to them. Why say it twice like that? From both angles. Why? Perhaps one reason could be because it was that hard to hide. He kept it hidden and it wanted to keep coming out and he wouldn't let it show to them. He kept suppressing it like a volcanic eruption inside you, and you're just letting it go. Allah describes this in Surah Ali Imran as وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ, those who swallow anger, the swallowers of anger, right? You have to just let it bury deep inside you. And there will be a moment of justice. This isn't it. You have a plan. Yusuf alayhi salam, you see, he has a method and a scheme that he needs to see through. But right now, his emotions can take over and he could say, forget the plan. I'm going to deal with this right now. He could do that, right? In a moment of rage, you can forget logic. You can forget your plan. You can forget your, long-term thinking. Let all that go. Man, it just got to me. What they said I couldn't take it, bro. How are they going to come after you and me? And they're making a comment about our mother? Because that's what it is. Really behind it is a comment about their mother. Somebody's going to talk about my mom like that and get away with it? And Yusuf alayhi salam kept that inside of him. Now, Mufassirun, some say that sadness inside of him. The answer he had for them, he kept inside. He had an epic answer for them, but he didn't say it. He said it in his head. And he didn't let them know that he's answered them, but in his head. Right? And you know what? Usually people do that when they're too scared to talk to you to your face. So they'll talk back to you like, sometimes your kids will talk back to you like, clean the table. What'd you say? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. That's not what you said. Stupid. Did you say stupid? No, I didn't say stupid. I said stupendous. When does somebody do that? When they're scared that they'll be heard. Because the one who will hear them has authority over them. This is the flip. Yusuf is in a position of power. He's the one swallowing it in. You understand that? This is a difficult level of sabr. This is the kind of sabr that you have to show when you have the power to take revenge, and then you still don't. You still hold it in. You still keep your composure. There's different kinds of sabr. There's sabr when somebody's beating on you and you just got to have sabr. There's sabr when you're stuck in bad weather and there's no AC, you just got to have sabr. Sabr over conditions that have power over you. But what about sabr when you have power over the situation and you still won't exert your muscle? You still won't exert your power. وَلَمَنْ صَبَرَ وَغَفَرَ فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ لَمِنْ عَزْمِ الْأُمُورِ. Quran says, whoever can have sabr and forgive and cover up, then that is one of the most remarkable things that can be accomplished. Man, to have the power and to not exact, to not let it be seen. That's a remarkable ability. And that's what Yusuf alayhi salam, you see, in a sense, Yusuf alayhi salam's sabr has been tested in almost every scenario. He has to have sabr against his own urges. He has to have sabr against slander. He has to have sabr against, physical torment. He has to have sabr against treachery, betrayal. He has to have sabr against so many situations. And now he has to have sabr while he has the power to take revenge. There's sabr in position of weakness and sabr in position of strength. He has to show that too. Allah has tested in sabr in like every way. In every possible way. Subhanallah. So anyway, so he is now swallowing this inside, and some say that he had an answer for them, like I said, and he didn't say it to them, he said it in his head. But then the answer has actually been stated. He kept it secret inside him and didn't show it to them, and the answer to what he didn't show to them is this answer. Here's what he says. He says, Antum qala antum sharrun makanan. You are worse off where you stand. Worse off in terms of place. In other words, what this means, a few things. You're worse than, one meaning of this is, oh, you think he's in trouble because he stole? You are in bigger trouble than you ever imagined, brother. You guys have no idea what you're messing with. You think he's bad? Oh, you're far worse. Oh, you think he's in trouble and his brother was in trouble? Oh, you are in so much more trouble. You don't even know who you're messing with. Antum sharrun makanan. Another meaning of antum sharrun makanan is, oh, so he stole and his brother stole and they're evil? You are far more evil in terms of where you stand. You stole a child. You slandered. You stole this boy's dignity right now. That's what you just did. You stole a man, the love of a father. That's what you stole. So that's a comment about that too. But yet another interpretation of sharrun makanan can be, you are worse than you were before. Oh my God, you were bad when you took me into the well because you were looking to get dad's love. And now, forget about dad's love. You're still insulting me? You're humiliating your brother? You are even worse now than you were then. Man, you didn't get any better. You got worse. Antum sharrun makanan. So there's like multiple layers to the statement he has inside of them. These feelings that he has inside of them. And that's a very frustrating feeling. You would think, when somebody did wrong to you and you finally get to confront them after so many years, what do you hope? I'm sorry for what I did to you all those years ago. I shouldn't have done that. I regret it. I take it back. I wish I could go back and not do what I did. Something in me knew that was wrong. By the way, we've seen that. Remember the minister's wife? Doesn't she regret what she did? So there's that scenario, right? So he was hoping for this from them. But man, not only do they not regret, they are worse than when they were then. Antum sharrun makana. And that's extremely painful. For a man in that position of power, the hurt that was caused to him by this comment of his brothers was so heavy that he had to keep it inside of him, which is to me an incredible statement in the Quran, because this man has gone through so much and he didn't have to make an effort to swallow the pain. And now this one statement of his brothers falsely slandering and accusing him and showing hatred towards him and his brother, and he has to swallow it, meaning it's a struggle for him to stay patient. It's harder for him now. What does that tell you and me? It tells us that outside enemies or difficult circumstances, they require sabr. But sabr against the abusive words of your own family is a special kind of juice you gotta have. That's not easy. That's something that takes a lot to hold in. The rage that family can cause, the frustration, the pain, the anguish that the words of family members can cause. And Allah doesn't describe this kind of pain for when they were physically hurting him. But he describes this kind of pain when he's in no physical pain, it's just their words. رُبَّ قَوْلٍ أَشَدُّ مِنْ صَوْلٍ. They say in Arabic, maybe words hurt more than a beating does. That's what this is. The prime minister of the land is hurt by their words. And in his heart, he's saying, you're worse than you ever were. Antum sharrun makanan. You are worse off in where you stand. Wallahu a'lamu bima tasifun. And Allah knows better about the accusations you're making. Right now, I will not tell the world that I know better. But Allah knows. Allah has more knowledge of the kinds of creative descriptions you make. In other words, he's now saying, Allah knows better of the lies you're making now and the lies you've been making. God knows if this is the kind of lying you're capable of, what you've been doing all these years. What have you been up to? And this ayah, I wanted to just spend time on this ayah alone to help you appreciate and myself appreciate something. Yusuf alayhi salam, his name is not mentioned like that. You have وَلَمَّا دَخَلُوا عَلَى يُوسُفَ, right? When they came in, they entered upon Yusuf. آوَى إِلَيْهِ أَخَاهُ إِنِّي أَنَا أَخُوكَ فَلَا تَبْتَئِسْ بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ فَلَمَّا جَهَّزَهُم بِجَهَازِهِمْ. It doesn't say فَلَمَّا جَهَّزَهُم يُوسُفُ بِجَهَازِهِمْ وَأَقْبَلُوا. And the ayah 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, and finally in 76, Allah mentioned Yusuf by name. We made a scheme for Yusuf, right? So Allah mentions Yusuf by name. But now that he's been mentioned by name, he doesn't have to be mentioned by name again. He'd be mentioned by pronoun. He held it in him. Everybody who read the story would have realized he meaning who? Yusuf held it in him. But Allah mentions his name, highlights him again. And he's highlighting something special about Yusuf in this event of having to hold this pain inside that came from his brothers. This is to let us know that this is a very serious crime. This is not a small matter. It's not something easy to swallow. Even for someone with the caliber of Yusuf's sabr. Even for a prophet, this is not easy to withhold. فَأَسَرَّهَا يُوسُفُ فِي نَفْسِهِ وَلَمْ يُبْدِهَا لَهُمْ قَالَ أَنْتُمْ شَرٌّ مَكَانًا وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا تَصِفُونَ. It's interesting, at the end of it all, he cannot prove. This is the last thing I'll show you. He cannot prove that he's innocent, that he never stole. Because once they make that accusation, that happened years ago. There's no evidence. His word against theirs, isn't it? So it's 10 words against one's, isn't it? At the end of the day. He understands something about that. There are accusations made towards you by your family and maybe by others. And there's nothing you'll be able to do about it to clear your name. It doesn't matter what testimony you bring, what evidence you bring, it won't matter. Because they're not interested in the truth anyway. They're more interested in slander than they are in truth. So he says, Allah will deal with you. Wallahu a'lamu bima tasifun. Allah knows better the kind of descriptions you make. Allah knows better the consequences of your lies. Allah knows better that you're lying. I don't have to prove anything. Allah has all the proof I need. Allah knows the truth. That's enough for me. People don't have to know. It's fine. Everybody here can think you had a brother that stole. And by the way, when the truth comes out, the truth will come out soon, right? Won't people remember, hey, so were they talking about Yusuf stealing? Aren't they going to say that? These guys said previously that Yusuf stole. So our prime minister was a thief when he was a kid. And he already knows that maybe that'll come up later on. The people will talk. By the way, doesn't the public look for any dirt on a politician? Anything they can pick up on? And he already knows when family can humiliate you like that, it can spread like wildfire, but it's okay. Allah knows better about the descriptions you make. I don't have to defend myself. Allah will defend me. One of the most beautiful things about this ayah, and I'll leave you with this, is its conclusion. When they lied to Yaqub so many years ago, when they lied to him about the shirt, remember? He said, Wallahu al-musta'anu ala ma tasifun. Allah's help is the only one that can be sought against the creative lies you make. Ala ma tasifun. Who said this? Yaqub, when Yusuf disappeared. Decades later, those brothers are lying, but not to Yaqub. Who are they lying to? Yusuf. And what does he say? Wallahu a'lamu bima tasifun. Allah knows better about the creative lies you make. Ma tasifun came out of the father's mouth when they lied. Ma tasifun came out of the son's mouth decades later when they lied. And the son wasn't there to hear the father say it when they said it. Kids pick up on the language of their parents, right? We use expressions and talk. As you're growing up, the people around you, you learn to pick up phrases and things like that from them, right? It's so beautiful that as a child, he learned how to describe people that lie from his father. And so many decades later, in a position of power, even the thoughts he had in his head mirror the language of his father. He echoed the words of his dad. He's connected to his dad in spirit, even though physically they're disconnected. And when they're faced with the same situation, these young men, these people lying, their response is almost identical. Allah's help should be sought. Allah knows better about what creative lies you make. Ma tasifun, ma tasifun. Wallahu al-musta'an, wallahu a'lam bima tasifun. It's so beautiful. So you can separate me from my dad, but you'll never separate me from my dad. He's closer to their dad than they ever will be, even though they're physically next to him. He's still closer to them. He's still more like him. It's so beautiful that Allah describes the power of a genuine spiritual connection between family. And what that means also is we don't just have a relationship in family of love, of care, of providing, of paying the bills, of taking them to school, of taking care of each other, or going on trips together, or buying things for Eid for each other. We don't just have that relationship. We have a spiritual bond. We have a spiritual connection. We talk about Allah in ways that leaves an imprint on each other. And so an imprint was left on this child's mind about how when you're faced with a situation like that, leave it to Allah. And so the father said, Wallahu al-musta'anu ala ma tasifun. And the son says, Wallahu a'lamu bima tasifun. It's the spiritual imprint, man. It's something profound. Don't underestimate the value of talking to your kids, especially about Allah and Allah's deen. You think you'll send them to an Islamic school or have them watch some videos or, all of that's great. But nothing will compare to the imprint a parent will leave on a child's psyche about Allah. It comes from a special place that Allah has created between parents and children. And beyond that, within family. So you see two opposites in this ayah. You see the worst imprints between family, the worst impressions and scars that family can cause. And then you find some of the most beautiful, beautiful remnants that even the smallest conversations that he remembered as a child still continue to impact even the way he thinks in his head. He's not even saying this out loud. His thoughts are influenced by the tarbiyah, the upbringing that his father gave him so many years ago, alayhi salam. So with that, inshallah ta'ala, I conclude our brief discussion of ayah number 77. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'an al-Hakim wa nafa'ani wa iyyakum bil ayati wa dhikr al-Hakim. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.